My bad. I forgot I was muted. So yeah, this is it's gonna start in a few minutes. So just be prepared for that. But we're not gonna start until around 7:30. I'm just getting the live together so that it's ready to go by the time we start. So with that being said, that's all I got. Alright. Hopefully the description of that's good. I think it is. Yes, welcome for joining. In a couple minutes, we'll get ready to get started. In the meantime, we're just chilling. So feel free to chill with me. But this is not going to be the traditional broadcast. I know I would have liked to have gotten back to a little bit of normalcy, but it's I feel responsible given the platform that I have and kind of like what God has burdened me with to make sure that I make the most of every opportunity, and this is an opportunity that I see. So with that being said, we'll get started in a minute. Everything looks like it's running pretty good, so I think we're good there. Oh, I felt that. Oh, I felt that in my neck. Oh, it hurt. Is the description of everything good? Okay, we're good. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and begin with this broadcast. For some of you guys who are looking for this to be the traditional format, unfortunately, it will not be the traditional format. This is just going to be more of a opinion piece. Uh, I wanted to, like I said before, kind of return this back to normalcy because of me just kind of hoping that things wouldn't turn out the way that they have. But like I said before, I feel burdened to make sure that I use my platform responsibly and to share what I've got to say. Now, some of you guys got to see me in a little bit more of a raw light, a little bit more of a aggressive light with the video I posted earlier. That was one of those moments where I was just trying to. I just started talking out loud, like processing what was going on, and before I knew it, I just started just going off, and something in me just told me to record it to make sure that that moment was preserved and that it was considered. So if anybody was offended by what I said, I'm going to double down on that and say that I guess good that you were offended. I once again will reiterate that if you feel like your opinion in this situation, and I'm talking specifically to white people, if you feel like your opinion right now needs to be heard in the midst of what's going on in this country, let me be the first to tell you that it does not. And unless you're willing to engage with us, unless you're willing to understand and seek to understand what we're going through and to sympathize with our cause, you've got no right to give us any type of contrarian statement that's going to try and dissuade the hundreds upon thousands upon millions of people who are being negatively impacted by a society that is not looking out for them and has not looked out for them since its inception. And so that's what this pod is going to be about today. It's not going to be fun. It's not going to be funny. I'm not going to be talking about anime. I'm not going to be talking about current events or anything like that. This is me just speaking on what's been going on in this country and how I've been feeling about it for years. I'm going to be repeating some of the things I said in the previous video. So just be prepared for that. But if this is your first time seeing me talk about this period, well, welcome to the show. Unfortunately, well, not even unfortunately, I'm glad that you get a chance to see this as the first experience because, regardless of what I talk about in media or in anime, movies, music, at the end of the day, my heart will be for justice. It will be for people. It'll be for specifically for people like me who have had to experience injustice constantly in their circles and in their lives. And so for me today is my opportunity to say and speak on these things. So, like I said before in the video before, and I'll say again, the issue that we're facing in this country, more so than the institutionalized racism that's in it, are the people who benefit from that system and are continuing to perpetuate the narrative that what black people are experiencing is not really what they're experiencing. And I had an interesting conversation with somebody earlier. It was on Facebook. They were presenting um, basically a picture of a police officer who had gotten killed during one of these riots, and was trying to create the narrative that I don't care. Like he said that the cop who killed what was this, George Floyd was a piece of crap. He deserved to go to jail. Blah 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 blah. But I can't stand how people like this are an innocent byproduct of what we're going through. And me and him had a dialogue about it. I'm not going to bring it back up. It was we ended on respectful and mutual terms. We both disagreed with each other, and I think that unless something happens and neither of us, we're probably not going to agree with each other. But what I'm going to say is that if you are experiencing these situations, if you are, and I'm going to speak specifically as a white person, if you are a white person who is seeing all the stuff that is going on and your response to it is outrage over the looting, you are part of the problem. You are part of the problem, and you need to sit down, take a deep breath, and stop talking. Because your voice not only does not need to be heard, it is damaging. It is damaging, and it is not productive. A little bit of a backstory about me. I am a biracial person. I grew up in a predominantly white neighborhood, so I know that racism still exists. Like, I know that it still exists. I know that there are some people out there, well-meaning people, who really don't understand just how racist their statements actually come off as. And what I want to kind of hopefully give some perspective on is understanding that this issue is not about looting. It's not about rioting. It's not about people's houses, cars, whatever being burned down. It's not about the flag. It's not about the anthem. It's not about that. It is about the sickness in this country that has continued to put black people in a position where they don't have the ability to be a people with dignity and self-respect. And the white people who are watching this video, and those of you who have had these experiences where when people say Black Lives Matter, your immediate response is all lives matter, I just want to challenge you, if but for a second, to stop being so sensitive, stop being so triggered, to kind of get over yourself and be willing to actually hear what it is that these people are saying. Why is it that people are saying Black Lives Matter? Why is it that there are people who are rioting in the streets? Why are people doing what they're doing? And if you are not willing to even go through that process, if you just want to draw your own conclusions and make your own assumptions, and I'm just going to let you know off rip, you're probably a racist. You're probably a racist because either that, well, no, you either got to be a racist or you just got to be a willing, ignorant bigot who just doesn't care about other people's suffering. Because you and I both saw what happened. You and I both have been seeing what has been happening for the past decade and a half. And with all of the countless accounts of black people being unjustifiably killed, whether it be in broad daylight, whether it be at night, whether it be in the safety of their own homes, the safety of their own homes, the safety of their own homes, black people are still more than likely to be killed. And the person who did these crimes, they are crimes, specifically in law enforcement, they are not met with justice. And this has been going on. This has been the narrative for as long as I can remember. Even longer than that. It's been going on since slavery times. And for people who sit in these conversations and think to themselves, okay, I hear what you're saying, but immediately you need to stop saying but. You just need to stop saying but. Your contrary opinion to what's going on only serves to benefit. It really only serves to let us as black people remember that when it comes down to it, white people ain't trying to hear our voice. They're not trying to hear our suffering. They're not trying to hear what we're going through. They're not trying to care about their situation. And they really, to be honest with you, don't start talking about it until it inconveniences them. You guys will watch us march. You guys will watch us protest. You guys will see us do all these other things, and you'll say that's fine and dandy. Some of you will join, and I thank you for that. Most of you won't. And then you guys really will only start throwing your hat in the ring the very second we start doing things that you don't agree with. Like, we can peacefully protest and still get hosed. We can try and enter into dialogues with people, and you'll still continue to say the same thing over and over and over again, completely ignoring and walking past every statement that we're trying to bring to you to help you understand what it is that we're doing. Every time we tell you guys why we're doing what we're doing, why what's going on is what's going on, and your response is, yeah, but this point I want still needs to be heard, it lets us know that there's no point in dialoguing with you. Why would I talk to somebody who's not trying to understand where I'm coming from? And look, you as a white person don't have the benefit of being a person who needs to be heard right now. You guys, whether you want to admit it or not, run this country. You benefit and profit from a system that continually oppresses me and prospers you. You don't have the opportunity to make sure that your voice needs to be heard. You need to be in a position of listening. You have to listen. You can't keep talking. You can't keep trying to say my voice matters. You can't keep screaming out all lives matter when Black Lives Matter is being screamed out, because what it makes you look like is ignorant, racist, and a bigot. It makes you look like that, regardless if you're that or not. It makes you look like that. It makes you look like that. It makes you look like, regardless of whether people are suffering in front of your face, you believe something, and that's the truth. And that's just it's ridiculous. This live is going to be at least a little bit calmer. I'm getting the vibe from it, and I'm thankful for that a little bit, because earlier today, y'all, it was not that way. Your boy was angry. Your boy was mad. Your boy was screaming, and justifiably so, because he's tired of seeing these people die. Um, but like I said, like what? So what can we do, right? What can be something that we can do that is going to help remedy the situation? So some of you guys are claiming that you want a solution. You want the riots to stop. You want the looting to stop. You want people to stop killing people. You want da 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 da. Well, the first step is for you to stop talking about the looting. That's the first step. For you guys to stop talking about the riots. Stop talking about the looting. Stop making that the forefront of the conversation. That's what you can do to stop. That's what you can do to help solve the problem. That instead of talking about the symptoms of the illness, talking about the illness itself, that being the institutionalized racism that has continually permeated every layer of every structure in this country, down everything from the executive offices in Washington, D.C., to the departments of education at the state level, to the courthouses at the municipal level, to everything under and in between. There is a clear and evident bias towards black people. There's a clear and evident mistreatment of black people. You can say minorities in general if you want to broad stroke it like that. But for me, being half black, I'm talking about black people. We have disproportionately been over prosecuted and underrepresented in our judicial system, and have constantly been at the boot end of oppression ever since this country has started. And if you as a white person want to try and deny that, if you want to try and give me a whole bunch of statistics as to my perspective being wrong, and I'm simply just speaking out of emotion, and I'm focusing on the wrong thing because the government wants us to be Republic versus Democrat, and what we really need to do is vote, and Trump needs to get out of office or stay in office because some of y'all actually still believe this guy's a good president, you are part of the problem. You're part of the problem because you either don't see it and aren't open to being shown what to see, or you secretly profit from the system. You know you profit from the system and don't want it to fall apart. It's either one or the other. There can't be a middle ground here because most of y'all want to try and ride that fence, and before you realize it, you're finding yourself on the side of the oppressor. You're finding yourself on the side of the person who is trying to continue to make this system what it is now. And look, I'm sure that there's most of you, and some of you in there, that genuinely feel like what you're doing is right, that genuinely feel like you're trying to do something that is promoting solidarity amongst the races. And what I'm trying to help you understand is that as a black person on the receiving end of those efforts, that is not helping. That is not what you're trying to achieve. That is not what you're achieving. What you're creating is more separation. What you're doing is continuing to empower the people who are continuing to abuse us to continue to do what they're doing, because you continue to talk about what we're doing in response to what they're doing, as opposed to talking about what they're doing and letting that be the end of the conversation. I was at work a few days back, and somehow this conversation came up, and I'm one of two. Um, sorry, I'm one of two black employees, and we were having a conversation about what was going on with George Floyd and the riots and stuff like that, and there was a bit of a heated discussion um, between the coworker who was black and the one who was white, and you heard them both like they both were just continuing to discuss it, and it was a somewhat productive discussion. At the end of it, they agreed, um, but it was just kind of like one of those situations where you see you. It's hard to put into words, man. I don't want to put anybody on blast, but like you can only talk and you can only repeat yourself so many times to people who insist that their perspective continues to be heard. I love you guys as white people. Well, I'm not gonna say I love you all. I do. I do at the basic level of what love is. I mean, in fact, I don't like most of you, but I shouldn't say that. Although I probably will still say that. Like, I don't like some of y'all, much like there are some people of my race that I don't like. There's some people of other races I don't like, but I still love you. I need you guys to understand that when I say your opinion doesn't matter in this situation, I'm saying that because it's true. I'm not saying that to hurt your feelings. I'm not saying that to try and make you mad. I'm not saying that to try and make you feel like you're a piece of crap. What I'm trying to say is that your opinion on what we're going through it has no benefit for what we're going through. Like you are a person who has never been black a day in your life and has never walked in the shoes of a black man or woman. You don't know what the experience is like. You don't know how it feels to walk into a grocery store and always wonder if they think that you're there to rob them. You don't know what that feels like. You don't know what it feels like to drive down the street and you can't even bring yourself to look in the general direction of a cop car because you're afraid that you're going to get pulled over and killed. You don't know what it feels like to be outside doing whatever you're doing and being fearful of someone walking through thinking that you look suspicious and gunning you down in broad daylight. You don't fear that because that's not your story. And some of you guys are going to try and white explain it and make it seem like, well, that's because you listen too much to the media and the media is trying to do this and the media is trying to do that. Well, what I'm trying to help you understand is that media can say whatever they want to say, but Tamir Rice is dead. Floyd is dead. Sandra is dead. Trayvon is dead. Eric Gardner is dead. Robert Gray is dead. The list goes on. And in every situation except for this last one, the person who killed them went away scot-free. You can't tell me, media, anything. The fact is, those people who killed us are not brought to justice in the way that they should be. They're not prosecuted for murder. They're not put into a court system that will eventually condemn them and put them in prison. They are simply stripped of their jobs, their job security. If that ever happens, most of them just get paid leave. There's no real justice that happens on our behalf. It's not about what the media is trying to portray. It's about what's actually happening. It's about what's actually happening. And some of you guys think that you're doing such a noble job in trying to say, well, let's focus on the real issue, man. Let's not let the media try and blah, 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 blah. What I'm trying to help you understand, bro, is that whether you agree with what the media is doing or not, the reality is that black people are dying. Their killers are going away free, and nobody is speaking up for us, and nobody is listening to us. We're speaking out. It's not even the media anymore at this point. We're telling you what we're going through. We're not repeating what CNN said. We're not repeating what Fox News said. We're not reiterating something that we saw on Yahoo News. We're telling you what we as black people go through. We're telling you that. Not the media, not the news feeds, not the Facebook posts. We are telling you straight up, in person, we are being oppressed. That's what I mean. If you don't want to trust the media, trust us. We know what we're talking about. We're not lying. What reason do we have to lie? We're being oppressed. We're being mistreated. We're being put in positions that we shouldn't be put in. And when it comes time for justice to come our way, it never comes. That is a reality. That's what you need to hear. And like, what I want and I hope is that some of you guys are listening to this and you're actually allowing yourselves to be humble. Because what I've noticed when I interact with white people on these particular issues is that they don't hear me. They don't listen to what I'm saying. I mean, they hear the words, but they're not listening to what I'm saying. Do you guys know what I'm saying? They stop talking long enough to be able to start talking again. I'm finding myself talking more so with people who are simply just waiting for them to talk rather than listening to what I got to say. And I'm going to continue to make this point known. If you want to help as a white person with this situation, if you want to help, if you want to be a part of the solution, you need to stop talking. Like, you need to stop throwing your opinion into the situation. You need to simply just shut your mouth and listen to us. Let us tell you what we're going through. Gain the understanding necessary to be able to accurately and adequately help us address this situation. Don't, and this is the fallacy with white people at times, is that you guys always want to try and be our saviors. You guys always want to try and save us. Not always. Some of you guys don't even care enough to even do. Some of you guys don't care about us. Others of you hate us. And then there are others of you who do care, but unfortunately, you still think that for some reason, you still gotta, you know what I'm saying, be our savior. You still gotta kind of still be our master in a certain way. And I'm not saying that for all of y'all, but I'm saying that for some. If you want to be a part of the solution, if you actually want to help, you need to stop telling us how we should feel. You need to stop trying to create this, you need to stop telling us to, that we're imagining things. You need to stop trying to tell us that what we're experiencing isn't the reality. You need to stop trying to give us facts and statistics from white people telling us about our black experience. You need to stop doing that, because that's not helping us. When you're talking to a child, right, and we're not children, I'm not going to give that as an example, but when you're talking to somebody and somebody's upset, and they're upset because they're not being heard, the solution is not to tell them that that's not why they're upset. And it's also not the solution that when they start expressing themselves, you continue to talk over them and tell them what you think. Because whether you realize it or not, that's what you're doing. And that's not helping anybody. That's not even helping yourself. Because you're putting yourself in a position that you unintentionally you don't realize what you're doing. And you're not trying to do that. And I'm really trying to be considerate here, because I don't want to mislabel. But you guys need to make sure that when you enter the conversation, you don't have you don't have it made up in your mind. Here's what I'm going to do to help black people. You need to actually let us tell you how to help us. And honestly, This is kind of a charge for us as black folk, and I'm thankful that I'm seeing it. But we can't keep waiting for white people to come save the day. I know that sounds crazy, but and I'm glad that I'm seeing it because we're doing it. We need to make sure that we are looking out for each other. We need to make sure that we are looking across the field, seeing our brothers, and realizing that we're walking and fighting the same battle. That's what we need. Before we can have unity as a nation, we need to have unity with each other. And that's important. And unity doesn't mean that we agree on everything. That also doesn't mean that we have to make sure that everybody is blah, 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 blah. But what it does mean is that when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, if war breaks out and our backs are against the wall, I got yours, you got mine. That's what it means. At the end of the day, I am here for you. Whether I disagree with you, whether I don't agree with your religious views, whether I don't agree with your political ones, whether I don't think this, don't think that. At the end of the day, when it comes down to it, you are my brother in arms, and I'm going to fight with you. I will die alongside you because we need that. Black people need to look up and raise up for black people. We got to look out for each other. And we can't be afraid of being looked at as segregationist or racist or whatever they want to try and label us as, because we need that. I am not out here trying to look for white people's approval. I'm not. I'm trying to look out for my own because they're not looking out for me. Like, it'd be different if the institutions at large were actually looking out for my benefit. Like, if white people were actually looking out for us and we were still doing this, now we got to take care of our own, take care of our own, that'd be a different story. Because then we would look different. But you guys were not lifting a finger. White people have been abnormally, not even abnormally, they've been obviously silent on a lot of these situations that have happened. And the few that have spoken up have said things that have been absolutely baseless and unproductive to helping us actually achieve the goal that they claim they want to be a part of. Stop saying you don't see race. Stop saying you don't see race, because you do. You do. You do, whether you admit it or not. You can't continue to try and pretend like America is so star-spangled awesome and it doesn't have racial injustices and flaws. You can't do that, because that's just as damaging. And I get the heart behind it. I get that you want to try and promote peace. I get that you want to do that, but you gotta you gotta get out of La La Land, burst your bubble, and realize the reality is not what you're trying to say. The reality is that people are dying. Black people are dying, and their killers are getting away free. There's no justice for us. There's nobody looking out for us. We're out here on an island, and you closing your eyes and plugging your ears, saying la la la, racism doesn't matter, is not helping us. Because we're still getting killed, whether you believe that or not. We're still getting falsely thrown in prison, whether you believe that or not. We're still getting misrepresented in every single category that has to deal with corrections, that has to deal with punishment, that has to deal with crime. We are constantly at the end of the guillotine, whether you believe racism exists or not. It doesn't matter what you believe. I'm telling you that. And I know it's going to be hard for some of y'all to see that, but it's your white arrogance that's telling you that your opinion in this situation that obviously has nothing to do with you matters. And I said it in a very raw way, and I'm not taking back what I said in that video. I've rewatched it 2 to 3 different times. I don't take back a single word that I said. You guys, opinions don't matter. They don't matter. They don't matter. Unless you're willing to help and unless you're willing to seek understanding, I don't care what you got to say. Why, in the midst of my people dying and being killed, do I have to take time out of my busy schedule of fighting for my people's lives to make sure that I hear how butthurt you are about the fact that you're inconvenienced? Why do I care about that? Why should I care about that? That's what I'm talking about. That's the white arrogance. Much like the American arrogance that we have, the thinking that the whole world revolves around us. You guys think that everything revolves around you. I don't care if you don't like the looting. I don't care if you don't agree with it. I do care if you care about my people dying. That's what I care more about. We can talk about buildings after we establish whether or not you're actually for me. Do you care about my people dying? Do you care about George Floyd? Do you care about Tamir Rice? Do you care about those people? If so, your voice needs to be spoken out more so against them than what we're doing in response to it. Because all you're doing, you're being you're being racist and you don't realize it. You're being racist and you don't realize it. And I know that's not an easy thing for some of y'all to hear. I get that, but it's true. You may not be a racist, but you're acting like one. And I know that's not a truth that you want to receive, but it's a truth that you got to come to grips with. When you don't, when you are suffering in front of your face, and all you're trying to do is give us all these reasons that that's not really happening, you're not helping us. When you start saying things like, "Well, white people are getting killed in this situation too," black on black crime, though maybe if you guys cared more about your communities, da 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 da. All you're doing is making excuses and empowering the people that are killing us to continue to kill us. That's all you're doing. You're empowering them. You're empowering the police officer who gets away with that murder charge to continue to do what he's doing. Because I mean, if I'm a person who is in those people's shoes, if I'm a person who just killed somebody in cold blood, initially I'm going to be fearful because I don't know what's going to happen to me. But if I come out of that completely scot-free, and the worst that I get is a slap on the wrist and 3 months paid leave from my job, I didn't learn anything. I can say that at a press conference. I can present myself as remorseful over the loss of life that I just caused. But at the end of the day, I don't really care because I got away with it. There was no penalty for me. And on top of that, I got people like you defending me. Because apparently George Floyd may or may not have had a criminal record, as if that justifies him being killed like a dog in the street. But you guys need to understand, white people. This is more so for white people. Black people, we know what it is. We know what we got to do. But for white people, for you guys, if you really want to help, one of the best things, primary things you can do is listen. To shut your mouth and listen. And I know that's harsh language, but some of y'all need that because being gentle and nice to you doesn't seem to get the message across. You need to shut your freaking mouth, stop trying to give us your opinion, and hear what we got to say before you start saying anything. 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 And if you're offended by that, I can't believe you told me to silence my voice, well, then continue to be a racist because you don't want anything to change. I got no room to sympathize with people who want to more so than hear, who want to be heard more than to hear. In this situation specifically, like Candace Owens, who is apparently y'all's black messiah. Candace Owens does not represent us. I don't know where she came from, but she needs to stop talking too, because she don't know what she's talking about. She don't know what she's talking about. She completely trivialized Ahmaud Arbery's death in the wake of trying to push her own political agenda, saying that we need to focus more on the voting booths and the people that are literally dying in the streets. No, Candace. Candace, I don't know you. I don't know you in real life. All I got is that 13-minute video. And what you decided to say on that Facebook Live lets me know that you do not look out for black interests. You are not for us. You are not for us. Because if you did, you would not have tried to belittle the experience. You would have simply just said, I understand we're frustrated. I understand we're mad, and we should be. Let's turn some of that energy towards the voting booths. Because we know that the media will try and do everything they can to keep us da-da-da-da-da. You had a chance to do that, and you didn't. Whatever message you were trying to articulate, you articulated it poorly, and now you look like you're working for massa. That's what you look like. And I don't take that back. And I'm not going to take that back. Unless you message me personally and help me understand where you were coming from, that's the perspective I'm taking, and that's what I'm going to rock with. But I'm open to being wrong. And for some of you who noticed, my podcast is traditionally called My Wrong Opinion. This one in particular is not, because my opinion is not. Because the opinion that I have and the opinion that I'm stating is simply that black people are dying, the people who are killing us are getting away with it, and there are a lot of white people out here who are not helping the problem at all. There are people making it about looting and rioting versus what caused the looting and rioting in the first place. When I start hearing white people talking about systemic racism, and white privilege and the unfair treatment of us people, when I start seeing and hearing white people being absolutely outraged over the fact that Ahmaud Arbery got killed in cold blood, that Robert Gray, George Floyd all got murdered unjustly, when I start seeing that, which I have in certain situations, when I start seeing that, then they don't know we're getting somewhere. But if all you people, and again, that's the part that kills me. You guys have an opinion, but you don't have any type of, and you want to talk about facts and logic and all this other stuff, but you don't have the facts. You don't grow up. You don't grow up in our communities. You're not around what we're around. You're not black. That's based. We can just stop right there. You'll never understand. You'll never know what it is to be black in this country because you're not, and you never will be. You never will be because your system won't allow you to. And think about that for a second. Your system, whether you want to believe it or not, will never allow you to be black in this country. They'll never allow you to be treated like a black man in this country. Because for them, racism profits. Not everybody in DC is racist, but there are enough racists in DC that keep us from moving forward. We as a black people are going to move forward regardless, whether you guys are with us or not. I just hope that for some of y'all, you guys are actually on the right side of history instead of the wrong side. Because there's people who are going to be after you. They're going to look back on these moments and look at you and say that you're an idiot. Because you are an idiot. And I know that's not like nice language to say, and I'm saying this in love. You're a fool if you seriously stand here today as a white privileged individual and say that there's not unjust fair treatment of black people in this country. You are a fool, and you're not trying to see the reality for what it is. You're just not. You're just not. Oh, you shouldn't be upset about the people. You shouldn't be upset about the people getting died. Look. Here's all the cases where blah, 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 blah. Like, come on, man. Come on. We don't need to hear that. We don't need to hear that. We don't even need to hear that when we're not angry. I don't care about that. I don't care about that. Oh, you mean you don't tell me you care about fact? No, I just don't care about what facts you're trying to show. Because the facts that you're showing me have nothing to do with the fact that a grown man put his knee on the back of the neck of another and killed him. Is there a statistic for that? Is there a statistic for the amount of times where a black person has been unjustifiably killed by a police officer and got away for it free? Are you going to start showing those statistics? Are you going to start showing those statistics? Some of you guys got the nerve to say that black people are more likely to commit a crime. And don't tell me why. And you give me a whole bunch of statistics. Well, black people are incarcerated at 3 times, blah, blah, blah. Black people are this, black people are that. And you don't think about, well, why is that statistic true? Why are black people more likely to commit a crime? And if your answer is because they're black, guess what? You're a racist. Because that's what racism is by its definition, is the belief that you're superior or someone's inferior based off their race. And saying that someone's more likely to commit a crime simply because of the fact that they're black is ridiculous. That's what racist people say. A person that sees a 12-year-old child getting gunned down by a police officer and their immediate response is, why did the child have a gun that looked like, why did the child have a toy gun? Like, I can't be tender to you because you're coming off like an idiot. There's a 12-year-old child, 12-year-old boy. They play with toy guns. You have a childhood where you played with toy guns. You've done it. You've done that. Like we play with army guys stereotypically. We play with army guys who play Call of Duty. We like that stuff. Why are you saying that the child shouldn't have been playing with a gun, a toy gun, if he's a child? Why does the child have to have the social responsibility of a middle-aged man in order to keep himself alive? He shouldn't have to do that. That's what I'm saying. That's where with these types of I'm messing with my water bottle at this point. That's where these conversations kind of just hit a standstill for me because y'all aren't trying to hear us. You're not trying to hear the problem. You just want your voice to be heard. When you've been doing nothing but be heard for the past 200-something years. And every time black people start speaking up, you immediately want to dismiss it. Oh, there's no way it's true. Let me go to the Pew Research Board, which is run by white people, to try and figure out whether or not black people are speaking the truth. There's no statistic for what goes on in the hood. There's none. These people in these institutions that come up with these statistics that you use to try and debunk what we're saying have never stepped foot in our communities. They have no idea. You know what they get their information from? Prison records and public information. That's it. And look, unless if they all of a sudden decide to go into the hood, which good luck there, they decide to go into the hood and actually start observing what goes on in those communities, I'm pretty sure half the statistics they show, they will probably either debunk or prove to be inaccurate. And on top of that, black people aren't the ones doing the looting. We're not the ones doing the riots. It's not us. You know who it is? It's y'all. It's y'all. Y'all are doing it way more than we are. And you can see that. You can see that on Facebook. You can see that on Twitter. You can see that. You can walk outside and see that if you're in those particular areas. You can see it. I'm sure, and I know there's black people that are rioting too. I know, but it's not the majority. Most of us are actually doing it peacefully, and we're still getting jacked up by police. So that'll let you know. Think about that. Like, shut your brain up and think about that for a second. Think about what I just said. There are black people that are protesting peacefully and are still getting abused. Now, what do you got to say? Because we do it the quiet way. We do it the way that you expect us to. And we're still getting beaten and taken advantage of. We're still not having our voices heard. And I'm not saying that the alternative is a solution either, but you can't sit up here and pretend like, well, if they had just protested peacefully, maybe they could get some progress. We've been protesting peacefully for 12 years. Peacefully. We've been protesting peacefully for 12 years. That barely gets any recognition, but the very second somebody throws a Molotov cocktail, we're all pointing the cameras. That's because y'all don't want to listen to us. Y'all don't want to listen to us. All you want to do is wait until we get mad enough to where we start doing something destructive and try and use that to justify everything that's happened to us before. That's what racism does. That's what racism does. That's what racist people do. They don't acknowledge their racism. They try to find reasons to justify it. And if you're one of those white people, and I wish I could tag some people in this video, but if you're one of those white people that upon finding out that a black man was unjustifiably killed by a police officer and your response to that was to post their criminal record, you are a racist. Let me just say that off the bat. You are a racist. You are a racist, you don't care about black problems, and all you want is to make sure that your racism is protected. Whether you want to admit that or not, whether you like how that sounds or not, it's true. It's true. And it's true because a black man who grows up in America, who's been around racism, knows what racism looks like, and that is a prime example of it. Or, I understand what you're saying, but that doesn't automatically make you a racist, but it definitely makes you ignorant and a bigot. If a black person is telling you, yo, we're rioting because there's unfair treatment of black people. We're rioting because we're rioting because the police have constantly been killing us and nothing's being done about it, and we're tired of it. We're angry. That should be where the conversation ends. But for some of y'all, it doesn't end. For some of y'all take that and then continue to say, yeah, but should you really be looting though? Should you really be looting though? Should you really still be going out there throwing bombs at people, blah, 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 all these different things that aren't true because black people aren't doing it anyway? But you guys still shouldn't be doing that. Do you understand why we're doing it? Like, we're not doing it because we choose to. We're not doing it just because we randomly decided to want to blow up Best Buy. We're doing it because we're being killed, and you guys aren't doing anything about it. Well, yeah, but you guys don't have to blow up the buildings. Do you see what I'm saying? Do you see what I'm saying? Do you see how that looks now? Like, hey man, we're being killed, we're being unfairly treated. But yeah, but my Best Buy though. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, you see how that comes off? You see how that comes off, and then you want to try and present. The one guy who got his business torn down and he was in shambles about it. And he was a black man. I feel bad for him. It shouldn't have happened. But he is an innocent bystander and is the victim of a symptom that was caused by a black man being killed by a white officer and nobody doing anything about it. It's unfortunate. And I wish it didn't happen, but it happened. And if the guy that killed George Floyd immediately met justice, much like if Tamir Rice's killer met justice, if Trayvon Martin's killer met justice, if Sandra Bland's killer met justice, if Breonna Taylor's killer met justice, if all these different instances we see people actually going to jail for what they do, you wouldn't see riots in the street. You wouldn't see that sad story of the black man with his building burned down. Even though I'm pretty sure that they're not telling you the full story. I almost know for a fact that they're not. But either way, You guys have to see that if you have been doing your jobs like you should have been and actually providing safety and security for the people in this country, you would not see riots. The reason why the Boston Tea Party happened is because they recognized that they were under an oppressive regime that did not look out for their best interests. And so, in that instance, they decided, in an act of rebellion, to show, hey, we want our voices heard. So, they decided to throw a whole bunch of tea out into the ocean. But at least nobody died. Yeah, sure, nobody died. Right. I'm sure that's true. I'm sure that's true. But there's been plenty of other riots where people have that you guys have caused. Ain't nobody talking about that. You guys will riot over the Stanley Cup, but then look at us, look at what we're doing in response to our unjustified oppression and not understand where we're coming from. Like, ugh, those savages. Why would they destroy their own community? Like, you realize that you look like an idiot. You look like an idiot. Like, you can't explain mansplain and whitesplain yourself as a person who's trying to be logical and reasonable when you are looking at the same thing that we're looking at, and your conclusion is that it's black people's fault. Because really, you don't want to admit that, but that's what you're saying. You're saying it's black people's fault. You're saying it's our fault that we're in this situation. And if we had simply just pulled ourselves up by our bootstraps, we wouldn't be in this situation. Forgetting that we are the result of a 200-year institution that has did everything it could to make sure we were treated as second-class citizens, not even citizens, treated as cattle. We go from that to where we finally are free from our slavery, but there's KKK members and people of that ilk who are still going into our houses while we're sleeping, dragging us out in the middle of the night, hanging us, killing us, and burning us. That's still going on. Then you have instances like Reconstruction trying to happen, where we finally get a chance to actually get some type of institutionalized support for our people so we can actually get back up on our feet again, and that falls apart because a couple of people at the midnight hour decided they want to start shaking some hands and making some deals for their own personal benefit at the expense of black people yet again. And then we go for even a little bit beyond that with the Jim Crow era and all the words that came into that were trying to keep us from getting jobs, they were trying to keep us from getting loans and home ownership and all this other stuff that was honestly financially putting us in a bind. So a lot of the people that grew up in those times and situations couldn't financially support themselves in the way they would like to, so most of them resorted to crime, which then led to us eventually being persecuted and prosecuted at unreasonably overrepresentative rates because for some of them, they had no other choice. They had no other choice. You as a white person who's never had a law go against you since this country began can't talk to me about institutionalized rape. You can't talk to me. You can't tell me that I can pull myself up by my bootstraps when the country that I'm trying to do that in does everything they can to make sure that doesn't happen. Black Wall Street burning down, if that not is the best example I have of this, I don't know what else you want me to say to you. You don't remember. I still remember that scene in Remember the Titans. I can't remember his name. It was like Ronnie Bass or something. It was Sunshine, the quarterback, and him and Petey and the whole group were going out, I think, to like a movie or something. And Petey and Julius and all them, they got stopped. And Petey was mad. And Sunshine was like, I'm sorry, I didn't know. And Petey said that line he said is probably one of the most profound statements. He said, I think he was talking to Julius. He was like, man, he don't want to know. He don't want to know. And that's y'all. Y'all don't want to know. Y'all don't want to know that we're going through this. You don't want to know that our people are being killed. You don't want to know that we're constantly under the barrel of the gun every single day we step outside. You don't want to know that. Because if you do, then you'll feel some type of way and might actually start doing something about it. But then also in that same breath have to admit that all the stuff that we've been saying has actually been true. And for most of y'all care more about your pride and you being right than anything else. Some of you guys don't care about justice. You care more about you being justified. And that's why I don't know. That's why it's hard to engage these conversations with y'all sometimes. But what I'm trying to tell you, and the thing I'm going to reiterate, is that if you want to be a part of the solution, you need to stop talking. Just stop talking. Stop talking. And what do I mean by that? Listen. Don't say, yeah, I hear you, but don't give me your opinion. Don't try and dissuade me from what I'm saying. Just hear me out and understand where I'm coming from. and then based off of that, do something. That's how you can help. It would really be nice if you guys joined us in these movements, which some of you guys are doing, and I appreciate that. Some of you guys have reached out to me personally and have sought my opinion on this situation and asked how I felt. And it almost brought me to tears. Because that's one of the few times in this history that I've lived in this country where I actually had someone white care about me more so than themselves. That matters. That matters. If you say all lives matter in response to Black Lives Matter, you are a bigot. Self-absorbed. And although you might not be a racist, you had a racist moment. Because you're not listening. You're not listening. And honestly, I'm going to be honest. I think part of it is because you guys don't want to listen. Oh, my neck. You guys don't want to listen. You don't want to hear what we got to say. Because if you did, we probably wouldn't be in this situation. You guys run this country. And I said this in the video and I'm going to say it again here. We're in this situation because you guys are poor leaders. It's that simple. You guys don't know how to run this country well. And because of that, we're in the dirt. I mean, you can run it well financially. You can run it well with our military might and all that other stuff. But when it comes to actually taking care of the people inside it that don't look like you, when it comes to taking care of the Black people that you have disenfranchised for 200-something years and still haven't been able to extend a helping hand to them, you're running this country terribly. And us rioting, us protesting, us blocking your highways, and I'm almost getting run over because of it, on top of that, is because of you guys' inability to effectively lead us. It's your fault. It's your fault. You can't blame Black people for this. You can't. You can try, but it makes you look racist. How can they be outraged at our mistreatment of them? How dare they? That's what racism sounds like. That's what racism sounds like. Are you kidding me? You're rioting? Why are you rioting? What? Because your people got killed? So what? All lives matter. Why are you worried about the Black ones? That's what racism sounds like. That's what racism sounds like. And by transitive property, that's what you sound like. You sound like a racist. You can call it the race card all you want. You guys have been pulling the race card since 1776, baby. You ain't got nothing to say to me. You've been pulling the race card since 1776. And you have not doubled down yet. Or not doubled down. You haven't folded yet. That card is still on the table. And it is still running strong, baby. But yeah, we're in this situation because you guys can't do your jobs well. With regards to taking care of us, you haven't taken care of us well. Or even tried to. And Black people, when we tried to take care of ourselves and be like, okay, fine, if you want to take care of us, it's fine. We'll take care of ourselves. You guys said, oh, no, sir. Took that big old cowboy spur-stained boot of yours and knocked over all of our Jenga pieces. That's what you did. Took a big old wrecking ball and destroyed our Black Wall Streets, destroyed our reconstructions, destroyed all of our attempts to try and be a people who are actually trying to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. Like, you guys would have so much more of a credible stance if the people that killed us and have been killing us have actually met justice. You guys realize if it was just simply that people who killed us went to jail and actually faced justice for what they did, half of our anger wouldn't even be here. You probably wouldn't see riots in the streets. You probably wouldn't see looting. You probably wouldn't see protests as much. Because at least we're getting justice. Half of this is simply just because of the fact that we don't have justice. Like, we can talk about the institutionalized racism, blah, 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 blah. But when you're making it so clear and apparent that you don't care about our lives, when you're putting it that blatantly in front of our face, where a person can get killed and not go to jail for it because he's Black, you can't tell me nothing. That's what I'm trying to help you understand. You can't tell me anything. You can't give me nothing, man. You can't give me nothing. And then in that same breath, we've got so many different examples of you guys doing way worse than we ever did and getting away from it safely and sometimes even free. Like, what can you tell me, man? It'd be different if you guys actually were trying to help us out. Where from Reconstruction, if Reconstruction was still a thing, and everybody had the chance to own land and da 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 da. If we had that, some of us, like, if we had that, right, we still have a right to be mad about slavery. We still do. That was the 200-year offense that you put upon us. We don't have to get over that anytime soon. So you guys trying to tell us to do that? You need to shut your mouths there too. Ain't nobody in America who's black needs to get over racism. Ain't nobody in America who's black needs to get over slavery. We don't need to. No. No, we don't. Maybe in about 400 years you can start saying that, yeah. But no. No, we just recently got our civil rights. Literally in the 60s. You can't tell us to get over slavery. You can't tell us to get over racism. You can't. You can try, but it'll make you look, guess what, racist. It'll make you look racist. Yeah, we abused you, took advantage of you, manipulated you, raped you, and separated you from your families and put you across every single state in the country. And had you work to the point where you were dying and you were whipped to the point where your spines were exposed and doing all this for hundreds of years. But it's in the past. Get over it. Like that's what you sound like. You sound stupid. You sound stupid saying stuff like that. We don't have to get over slavery. It's your fault. Like that's what you did. That's the truth. That's what the reality is. You did this to us. We didn't ask to come to America. We didn't immigrate here. We were taken here and treated like crap here. If you don't like that, then go back to Africa. Why? I built this country. Where do I gotta go? I built this country. I just want a return on my investment. You guys can't say this is your country. It's not your country. And for those of you who are saying that it is your country, you also have to admit that you're not running your country well. Because if you're making the scapegoat black people and you're making their anger being more on them than you are in fact a racist. Like, you may not like how it sounds, but that's true. If you're able to stand in front of us and say, look, man, I know we have not been treating y'all well. We messed up. I know it's not enough for you guys. I know it's probably not going to solve all of our problems, but we're going to try and do something different. I can hear that. And I know some of my black brothers and sisters are going to say it's about 200 years too late, and I can't disagree with them. I can't be mad at them. I'm going to let them say that because it's true. It's true. But I will appreciate the fact that you're willing to at least go down that path. It ain't going to be easy for you. But hey, at least now, maybe then at that point, you'll be able to finally understand what it's like to be us. To have to constantly push forward even though people are against you. At least then maybe then you finally have an idea of what it's like. But yeah, I can't respect people who come on these things and say things like, man, why don't you, like, racism is over. Why can't we just get past race? Why does everything got to be about race? You can say that as much as you want, Karen. But people who are living in this country who do not look like you are getting killed. You can't not make it about race when race is the reason why we're dying. We're not dying because we live in a particular part of the country. We're dying because we're black. That's all we're dying for. We're dying because we're black. And if you believe otherwise, guess what? You might be a racist. You might be a racist. And some of you white Christians out here who are continuing these narratives and trying to say all this other stuff, I need to challenge you. Like, are you operating in love the way that you should be? Are you actually examining the scriptures and realizing that Jesus dealt with racial issues? Jesus himself dealt with racial issues. You know how I know that? The story of the Good Samaritan. He knew that racial injustice was happening in the country. He wasn't ignorant to that. How can you read Isaiah when it says, take up the cause of the oppressed and defend the case of the widow and still say the stuff that you're saying? Like, how can you read scripture and know God's heart on these situations and still say the opposite? And I'm gonna quote what Timotheus Pope said. If you're doing that, you really need to examine if you really are even in the faith. Well, I mean, that's not exactly what he said, but that's what I'm going to say. If you're willing to go down that path, I don't think you're saved. I don't think you're saved. And obviously, I could be wrong. Like, I'm nobody's savior. But, I mean, you know a tree by the fruit it bears. And if the fruit is showing me a lot of worldliness, ignorance, and hate, kind of hard to believe you might be of our flock. Like, it's hard for me to believe that. It's hard for me to believe that. And I want to believe it. Like, I want to believe that all of you guys are just living in ignorance. But I know for a fact most of y'all are just hiding because you're scared. You're hiding your racism. You're not going out there in front. Look, and then for as much as I hate the neo-Nazi party, as much as I hate Ku Klux members and all that other stuff, I got no respect for Ku Klux because y'all be hiding in the cut. Y'all don't even come out no more. But at least neo-Nazis actually have the gumption to at least broadcast their racism to everybody around them. At least they're willing to do that. At least that much. At least now I know what I'm dealing with. Because the person I could be working with very well could be a Ku Klux Klan member who just hung one of my brothers and sisters out there, and I would never know because you guys are cowards. You guys realize that even though you guys technically still do run this country, you know that the world is watching. Martin Luther King made y'all look stupid, and some of y'all still ain't got over that. Made you look stupid. Oh man, it's crazy. It's crazy how people who listen to the stuff that I'm saying right now, I almost know for a fact, like some of you guys are gonna watch this video, you're gonna listen, and you're not even this is what an hour in, you're only gonna watch the first 5 minutes, and you're immediately gonna comment. I know that because I was in a Facebook discussion earlier with somebody, and he was replying to me with things that I addressed in the initial comment. White people don't listen. Not all white people. No, white people don't listen. You just need to own that. You don't listen. Well, maybe you did it. Maybe you did it. You don't need no maybe nothing. You just need to shut your mouth and listen. That's all you got to do. Just listen. Just stop talking and listen. It's not that hard. We do it for you guys all the time. Just do it. Just listen. Listening will do more than you may realize, man. Gain understanding about and again, white Christians, above all else, gain understanding. Seek understanding. Seek why black people feel the way they feel. Why do your black Christian brothers and sisters not trust you? Why do they feel that way? And when they tell you why, don't then try to convince them that they shouldn't feel that way. Just listen. Listen, understand, and accept. And then that's like when you start doing that, now we're operating in love. Now we're operating in love. Now we're seeking to understand versus being understood. Now we're trying to walk alongside our brothers and sisters who are suffering. But when you take that path of here's why you shouldn't feel this way, and you don't even come from scripture, you just come from a whole bunch of statistics and facts or whatever you want to tell me, to try and tell me that the reality that I'm facing is not real. And it's just not true. Like, yo, I don't want to take it too deep, but the people that are giving you those numbers, most of them are white. Like, they're white people telling you what black people go through. Like, come on now. I know for a fact the Pew Research Board is not run by black people. I know that for a fact. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I know I'm not. So yeah, man. I just kind of want to get on here and kind of just share my thoughts on this whole situation. Again, in a little bit more of a calm tone of voice. White people, some of you guys have been doing this, and I just want to encourage you. It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to push past your presuppositions. It's going to be hard to have to come to grips with your privilege. It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to believe that that's true. It's going to be hard for you. I know it is. Because you want to think that you care about us. You want to think that you're for the cause. And it's going to be really hard for you to realize that you weren't as much as you thought. But what I want to challenge you on is to continue to engage. Continue to engage. Continue to listen. Continue to seek understanding. Continue to do that. Because what you guys are going to do is eventually teach your kids. And they'll teach their kids. And they'll teach their kids. My pastor, Pastor Glass, said it earlier today. Reprogramming the next generation. Showing them the way that they should go. As it says in Scripture. Teaching them. Right? As you walk along the path, talking to them, help your kids know that what they're seeing is wrong. So that when they get older, they don't have to go through the same trials you had to go through to retrain yourself on how to think. Just make it easier for them, if anything. And it's not going to be perfect. And people are still going to come out of this thing still thinking some racist stuff. And like, that's just reality. But the same person, Abby, I'm going to keep saying her name because she is an example of what I need to talk about in this situation. She reached out to me. She sought to understood. She wanted to hear how I felt. And she heard me say it all. And she said, thank you. Because I recognize that I work in a predominantly white institution with only, she's a school teacher. And I work with mostly white kids and I only have but a few black students. And what I want to do is hopefully, with these interactions, Damon, give them an alternative perspective and ideally, if I can, change their minds. And y'all, almost brought me to tears when I heard that. It almost brought me to tears when I heard that. Because that's where the fight starts. That's the battle. That's the battle. It's not trying to get us to stop rioting. It's not trying to put us in chains and keep us from being angry. That's where the battle starts. If you want to claim to be for solidarity, if you want to claim to be a person who wants people to get along with each other, you got to do. That's the fight right there. She understood. She didn't defend herself. She just simply heard what I had to say and said, "Thank you for that perspective." And on top of that, she sought it out. And then she wants to take that information and share it. Because she recognizes, in spite of all that has been going on, she could have just as easily said, well, that's not been my experience, so that must not be real. No, she even said it in the message, like, I always had you guys as my friends, and I always looked at you guys as my friends. And honestly, even in my ignorance, I never considered what you guys might be going through. As black people, I just never thought about it. She said that. You guys have any idea how profound of a thing that is? And some of you guys are going to look at her and say, well, she's just joining the cause because she wants to be popular with black people. And you're racist for saying that. You're racist for saying that. Because you know what they used to call people like that? And it's going to be a word that you guys are going to like hearing, but it's true. It's the same word that they called my mom when they found out she was dating a black man. You want to call them nigger lovers. You do. That's basically your way of saying it without saying it. And that's not fair to her. Because she just cares, period. She just cares. But again, even with that being said, the boldness that she had to be willing to even take that hit for the cause, that's what matters. There was a guy in that comment thread on that Facebook thing that that spoke the truth. He was a white guy, bro. And I'm like, yo, that is the fight. That's the fight. It's not going to be fun. It's not going to be fair. It's going to be very uncomfortable for some of you to have to go into these conversations with people that you grew up with, that you were friends with, and realizing they're saying some really ignorant racist stuff. And it's going to be really hard for you to stay, yo, bro, what are you saying? That's crazy. Like, that's going to be tough for y'all. I get that. Just know that you got somebody who sympathizes with your struggle. And now you can identify with our struggle in ways that you may never have understood before. When you choose to strip yourself of, you can't strip yourself of it, but when you choose to weaponize your privilege for the benefit of another group of people, that is the gospel. If you're a white Christian, that is the gospel. Because Jesus, although he was equal with God, did not consider it something to lord over us, but rather he humbled himself, taking the very nature of a servant. Some of you guys have privilege, and you have to make the choice. Am I going to be like Jesus and not consider it something to lord over, but rather humble myself and serve? Or are you going to continue to say that we shouldn't be upset? That it shouldn't matter? That's your challenge. That's what you got to figure out. That's what you in your own heart have to figure out. And depending on your answer, it's going to tell you, it's going to help you understand whether or not you really do care about us. Whether or not you really care about black struggle. Whether you really care about our suffering and what we go through. That's what it's going to tell you. Because most of us are angry because we don't feel like you care. And most of us are angry because we know that you care, that you don't care. Because you haven't cared about us since we've been talking, man. But if you want to solve well, I guess I shouldn't say solve racism, but if you want to help address the issue of institutionalized racism, if you want these riots to stop, if you want black people to finally be in a position of well-being like you guys are, that's where it starts. That's where it starts. And then teaching your children the way that they should go. Because then when they get older, they're going to eventually run for office. Some of them will be in legislative positions. Some of them will be in judicial positions. And they will have, my daddy taught me not to treat another man unfairly based off the color of his skin. And when I see injustice, I speak out against it. And you're going to see, finally, progress being made. And we're seeing it now in small doses because there are white people walking alongside us who had parents that taught them those values. That's how it works. And look, there's still going to be ignorant folk out there that are going to da-da-da-da. I mean, to an extent, I don't want to do that, but they gotta have that kicked off the horse, blinded Saul and Tarsus moment before they finally get their stuff together. But for some of you guys out there who are desperately trying to seek love in this situation and don't know where to go, that is the best way to do it. Right there. If I can just help you see the path and then help you then teach others that path, like, yeah, that is one of the best ways we can do it. And for black people on our part, organizing. We gotta start organizing. Start continuing these movements, these Black Lives Matter movements and things of that nature, these grassroots movements that are going to facilitate and help encourage change, to support and be in favor of black taking care of black. Boys in the Hood, Vicious said it. Keep everything black. The dollar black. Keep it within our communities. That is a great way we can do it, and that will help. I'm not saying you got to boycott. If you want to, hey, go for it. But what I'm saying is, when it comes down time to support us, not just with your money, but with your love, effort, and energy, you do it. We look out for each other. We look out for each other. We seek to build each other up. We support one another. We care for one another. That's a way we can do it. And then for some of us Christians out there who don't quite know exactly how to engage the situation, man, it's not crazy, but preach the gospel and live it. Follow Jesus' example and seek to, if you're a white Christian, seek to understand more than being understood. And as a black Christian, continue to love. Continue to love, but don't be passive. Because we tend to think that for some reason those things are hand in hand. God challenged us to stand up for one another. We don't have to take this. We don't have to take this. And God never told us we should. Especially this. Fight for the cause. Fight for what matters. And don't stop fighting. In any way that you can. You ain't always got to be out there every single day getting bodied by police. You ain't always got to do that. Sometimes just really, honestly, for some of you guys, just being willing, even though you don't have the opportunity to, just being willing that when the time comes and your number is called, will you step on the field and start playing? That helps too. Some of you guys might have platforms similar to mine and want to start using that for occasionally saying stuff like this to help raise awareness to our issues. Great. Some of you guys who are about that political life want to start stepping into those arenas and start promoting some type of legislative change. Great. Great. And for those of us out there who don't have those similar desires and drives, to support those that do and seek our own ways into engaging this. Because we're not just going to solve it in the voting booths, although that is one area that can help. We're going to solve it when we start finally putting a dollar in another black man's hand versus another white man's hand. It's going to start happening when we start trying to build up our own communities and systems that will help promote and encourage and uplift us, give us the self-esteem we need moving forward. Even in media, advocating for and promoting images that present black people in a positive light and doesn't continually perpetuate them as criminals and glorifying lifestyles that will ultimately destroy them. Like that matters too. Even in there, that matters. And I'm not saying everybody's got to clean it up and turn it into Paw Patrol out here. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying more so than anything else is just remember that when the time comes and your number is called, will you step on the field? That's all. It's, for some of y'all, some of you guys will just have one moment where you'll have to do what you got to do. Just do that. That's how we stand together. And I'm not look. It's just Damon talking, right? Like I don't have all the answers, and I'm never gonna claim to be. I just know that based off of who I've talked to, who I communicated with, and the conversations I've had with Pastor and other people of that nature, who are clearly smarter than me on this situation, that's one of the things that I continually hear. Healthy dialogue, being willing to seek understanding from white people, and us continuing to love and support each other, encouraging one another, and trying to build up one another. So that is, yeah. So again, I know, and I did a whole bunch of research too, but this was more important. I had a lot of topics I was going to originally talk about, but this was way more important. So I don't take that back. But next week I will do as best as I can to go back to my original format. Hopefully nothing else pops off over the weekend where I end up having to devote some of my time to. Well, no, if it does, I don't care. I'm not gonna say hopefully. Hopefully progress happens. But if there's something else I feel I need to talk about, I'm going to talk about it again. But I will try to commit to making sure that I provide the same content that I originally set out to give you guys. So, and I got some stuff to talk about, so we'll find that as well. But yeah, next week I will strive to have it look more like what it was looking like before, because that's ultimately what this channel is for. But just be prepared, because every once in a while, occasionally, your boy might pop out of the woodwork just to remind us about what we're going through. So it is what it is. And there might be segments in my podcast that speak on these particular issues, and I'm not going to shy away from that. I'm not going to shy away from that. So yeah, that's what I got. If you comment, if you have anything that you would like to share, you got the freedom to share it. Just know that I also have the freedom and right to disregard it. Just know that. So hopefully this sparks some productive conversations, and hopefully you guys, and even me as I was talking, hopefully we all just kind of learn something moving forward with this, hopefully. And I believe so. I believe so. I believe it is possible, and I believe it can happen. You gotta keep fighting for it. So that's all I got. Love you guys. Take care of yourselves. Stay safe out here. Do what you can to take down the curve for this whole COVID situation, and let's continue to fight for one another in the way that we should. All right. Peace.